Phil Spencer just had a pretty telling interview where he goes into detail about Xbox's first-party games, but also Sony's first-party games. There's a lot going on in this interview, but one subject stands out the most. Xbox does not want to copy Sony's way of doing things. Let's get into what was said and why Xbox is doing things their own way. Hey everyone, thanks for stopping by and checking out the video. Remember to hit that subscribe button and that like button. The support is greatly appreciated. And if you want to be notified on future content, hit that small little bell icon. It helps out the channel a lot. Okay, so one of the biggest criticisms that Xbox has had for it right now is that they don't have games that are like Sony. What I mean by that is they don't have the games that are third person, over-the-shoulder, single-player only action-adventure games. When you bring up Gears of War and any other game that's third-person, people will say, no, that doesn't count because it's not the same. What does count is the God of Wars, the Uncharted, Ghost of Tsushima, and of course, The Last of Us. Those types of games where multiplayer is secondary, and it's all about the story and the characters within the game. Not to mention the great adventures those characters go on and how epic in scale they truly are, where they have big AAA set pieces that makes the game stand out. And hey, as an Xbox fan, yes, I do agree that Xbox does need some form of that game, be it third person or first person. They need that open world action adventure game, and it's something that's been talked about for years and years, and Phil Spencer has been asked about this type of game for a very long time. Yet, he doesn't want to replicate it, especially since they've been asked about this game for a very long time. Here's what the article had to say. Phil Spencer doesn't want to copy Sony's strategy with single-player blockbuster games. Over the past decade or so, Sony managed to build an impressive portfolio of single-player blockbuster games for PlayStation consoles thanks to acclaimed first-party studios like Naughty Dog, Guerrilla Games, Santa Monica Studio, Insomniac Games, and Sucker Punch Productions. So the first thing we have to talk about is that Phil Spencer doesn't want to copy Sony, and of course they don't. The games they put out don't compare. Sony doesn't have anything, and I mean anything, that compares to Gears of War or Halo or any co-op multiplayer-centric game. And to be honest, Xbox doesn't have anything that compares to God of War and the single-player experiences that Sony has. And like the article talks about, all those amazing studios from Sony, it's obvious that those studios don't focus on multiplayer gaming, much like Xbox has focused on for a very long time. Even in the examples given in the article, you can see the difference in games. Here's what was given in the examples that the article provided. Titles like Uncharted, The Last of Us, Horizon Zero Dawn, God of War, Ratchet & Clank, Marvel's Spider-Man, and Ghost of Tsushima are often cited as the pillars behind the success of PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation 5. Meanwhile, Microsoft struggled for a long time to deliver similarly remarkable first-party games. Head of gaming Phil Spencer eventually got the upper management, chief CEO Satya Nadella, to bankroll a veritable acquisition spree, which saw Microsoft collecting the likes of Bethesda, Obsidian, and Exile, Double Fine, Ninja Theory, Playground Games, Undead Labs, and Compulsion Games over the course of 3 years. This is where it's interesting to me, because when you look at all those games mentioned in the article, it's obvious that Sony focused on single-player only games for the PlayStation 4 generation. And it was a really good move by Sony, I have to admit, because if they're done right, they can become extremely fun and review extremely well. And almost every single game Sony made last generation reviewed well and also sold well. Yet, there's one thing I disagree with about this assessment. The PS4 didn't dominate because of these games. They were an added bonus to the people that left the Xbox 360 era or the Xbox One and went to the more powerful PS4 at the time. Because while these games are amazing and I truly enjoyed all of them, I think the PR nightmare that Xbox had launching the Xbox One was more telling. And these games that were coming out weren't the massive sellers that pushed the consoles like people think. God of War, one of the best games I've ever played and ever made, in my opinion, sold about 12 million copies. Now, the only game I would admit is probably Spider-Man because of the Marvel world and everything Spider-Man is as a superhero and how it's AAA across the board. The Spider-Man franchise is huge, and I think they sold about 20 million units, so that did push a lot of consoles, which is a huge success. But that's 110 million consoles out there of the PS4. It's about a 10 to 15% attach rate. To me, that's great, but not the main reason the console sold so well. But when we look at Xbox and their co-op centric, multiplayer centric games that come out, Their most successful games had those aspects tied to them. They were multiplayer and community driven, something I feel is the lifeblood of what Xbox is and is a huge reason why I actually love the console. Do I want them to make more games like Sony or like Nintendo? Sure, why not? I love those games also. But to me, if they move away from the Sea of Thieves or the Gears of War or the Halos, which to me are multiplayer centric, I'd be very sad. It's the main reason why I'm on Xbox in the first place. Which brings me to this next topic, which is what Phil Spencer had to say about this whole thing. Here's what he said. Microsoft surely has the creative manpower to challenge Sony now, but it will not do so by simply copying PlayStation's strategy and crafting similar games. Speaking to Games Radar, Phil Spencer underlined the importance of Xbox doing its own thing instead. Our strategy is not just go be like someone else. I get a push sometimes of where your version of this or that game. I've been in this industry for a long time. I have a ton of respect for creators on all platforms, and I know many of them. But it's good if we're doing something different than what other platforms are doing. We're not in the business of just trying to create a green version of somebody else's blue or red colored platform. That's not the example of creativity that I want to see in the games industry. This is something I'm extremely happy Phil Spencer said, because he's right. I'm sure he gets flooded with questions about making games like this studio or making games like that studio or something that Sony or Nintendo have made. Especially since I don't even work for Xbox yet, I even get those same exact questions and demands from people in DMs or on Twitter or wherever I am. And all I can say is that Xbox is already working on those single player driven games, not to mention the games Xbox has already been making for years. What I mean by that is Xbox is at the golden age of gaming right now. They have so many studios and are rumored to get even more studios, so wait until Xbox drops Fable, Avowed, Starfield, Indiana Jones, Compulsion's next game, the next Gears of War, the next In Exile game, and of course the next Ninja Theory and Obsidian game. All those studios focus on single player experiences, but also some of them have multiplayer attached to them. To me, if Xbox stops making those co-op experiences, I'll be extremely annoyed because they're one of the only studios and publishers that does it right and on a huge scale. Halo and Gears are the best co-op games around for me personally. I love playing the campaigns with my friends, I love getting into the game solo, I love going into the multiplayer, and I enjoy doing horde mode and co-op on Legendary for Halo. I enjoy that aspect of gaming. To me, gaming is social, and it's something that Xbox takes to heart. So when I hear people say they want Xbox to make Sony-like games or Nintendo-like games, that kind of annoys me, because how many of those games do you actually want? Do you want variety in what you play? Do you want something different instead of the same game over and over? In fact, it's one of my biggest problems with Sony games. They all feel the same and they don't have variety in what I'm getting within their genres. Are they mechanically different and have different aspects of them? Of course they do, and I enjoy playing them. But at the end of the day, they fit into a genre which is action-adventure third person. And I love those games, but I wouldn't mind something different. Where's the strategy game, the multiplayer, the co-op, the turn-based strategy, the over-the-top isometric games? Where are those from Sony? And don't get me wrong, I truly believe Xbox needs about 2 or 3 single-player only games that focus on the characters at hand. And I think they'll provide that. But at the end of the day, I'm a gamer that loves playing all sorts of games, not the same type of game over and over. So let's hope Phil Spencer doesn't just try to copy Sony or Nintendo. Let's hope he allows his developers and studios to make the type of games they want to make. Be it action adventure, strategy, or even something weird, games like Sea of Thieves, which was a huge risk. We have to admit, Sea of Thieves has over 20 million people played that game, or Minecraft, or something different where it changes what we know about gaming and we get something different. An example of that is Hades. I love Hades, the roguelike game that I really never was going to get into, but after it dropping on Game Pass, I've loved it and I've played it like non-stop this entire week. Either way, I'm happy as a gamer. We're getting so many games, and I can't wait to see more third-person action-adventure games, more strategy games, and just more games in general, because that's where we're in right now. The creativity of the developers is going to shine through, and I think Xbox is going to bring out more games than people realize, and that includes single-player AAA games that are going to be focused on those characters. But enough of what I think about this. Tell me what you think about this. Do you agree with what Phil Spencer said? Do you want to see Sony-type games from Xbox? Would you like to see Xbox-type games from Sony? Do you value single-player or multiplayer experiences? What game can Xbox make to appease these people? Do you think it's better that Xbox makes different games? When will we get something different from Sony that they dive into different genres? Go down below and let me know. And I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please hit that subscribe button and that like button to support us out the channel more than you know. And give me a follow on Twitter at Zalker87. I'm always on there talking games and sharing my latest videos. Plus, I love interacting with everyone there, so get on Twitter and let's talk about gaming. Also, follow me on Xbox Live. My gamertag is Zalker87, just like my channel name. See what games I'm playing, and let's compete in achievements for the month. Okay, so for the last month, I was really thinking about getting into Assassin's Creed Valhalla because I think I'm about 20 to 30 hours into that game. But that didn't happen. What happened was Hades took over my life, and I've been playing that game nonstop. I just beat the last boss, so I completed an entire run, but now there's so much more that the game opens up to because you keep wanting to play it. You want to check out new weapons, new builds, new everything. I love that game. I love how strategic it is. I love how skill-based it is, and I think it is programmed flawlessly, and it runs great on the Series X. I've been playing it on my console right now, and I'm going to play it on my PC once I get the chance, but I haven't been home lately. So once I get there, I'm going to play it on both sides, PC, console, and man, does it run great. And I believe it has a Series X patch that runs smoothly. So I recommend that game. It's on Xbox Game Pass. Check it out. It is a fun game and worth every single minute of your time. And I want to play Psychonauts once that drops next week, but honestly, I'm looking forward to Valhalla, and I want to play that and get through that because, you know what, that game's a lot of fun, and there's so much DLC dropping for Assassin's Creed Valhalla that I'm looking forward to it. Plus, I enjoy the DLC, and I haven't really gone through any of the DLC on the Assassin's Creed, so maybe this is about that time when I do that. But let me know what you're playing. Are you playing something on your Xbox, your PC, or are you playing something on your PS5? So go down below and let me know, because that's what we're here for, is to talk games. And that's all for now. Thanks for watching, and until next time, remember, enjoy your gaming. Later.